I greet you all in Yahshua's mighty name as we present unto the nation of YisraYah'ale the pattern of all things that Yah has laid. I want to emphasize a particular part of this teaching concerning the times of Yah. We must understand that all things that Yah does, there is always, in the term of the Hebrew language, there's a reshith. That is the pattern, the image, that is the primary number one thing that he lays the pattern by. And what we will do this great evening that Yah has granted unto us, I want us to understand the definitives or the meaning of what Yah expressed by way of Torah. I want to express first of all the words month. It is chodash. It always referred to that day when the crescent reappears, that the slither, because the word that it has grown from, it is chadash, to be renewed, to be invigorated, to come again. And so the crescent that we visually see represents that there is a new birth. There has been something repaired. It is renewed. It is not the dark side, but it is the side of light. And I want to give us an example of that we may understand, nation. Here's a prime example. Here in 1 Jubilees, this is the example. This is chapter 20, verse 24. This is when Dawid went missing and he seeks to kill Yotam. But the verbiage expressed here in 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 24, it said, Dawid hid himself in the field. There was no light, complete darkness. And when the new Chodesh, the new moon, was come, that simple words, come, C-O-M-E, in our language of our forefathers, it expresses bow, like B-O-W. And that is when something comes in, when there is an appearance, when it is seen. It said the king sat down with him, or set him down to eat meat. There must have been a visual of something that gave Dawid the promise of that tigva, that Yah was with him, and there will be nothing to alienate him from the Most High. Verbiage is important to understand. And we must always go back to the Reshith, the beginning, the Bereshit. And the Reshit, the Bereshit, is that principle laid from the beginning. There's only way you can birth a child. The woman receive from the husband, and they produce a child. There is no other alternative. They can do the artificial inseminations and all, but it is the same process. There must be a union that produce that being or that substance in the daughter of Zion's Betem. I want us to get a little history of Torah. Nothing has ever changed in Torah. Nothing. There has not been one date, time, concept. Nothing at all has reverted. And I want to begin with a little history because of this concept of one of the most violent lies against Yah, a 13th month. Not only that's a tremendous pagan concept that has been laid. This what we call the equinox, the vernal equinox. It is a lie nation. Yah did not ordain that to assist us. He ordained one thing and one principal thing, and that is the Chodesh. The Yira, the moon. The Yira, the moon. And I want to begin here, and first of all, I want to define one word. I know we understand, we're such bright people. I want to define the word first, F-R-R-S-T, in Torah. And I want to go through the books, not every book, and see if the principle is altered. I want to begin here in Marcus Luke, chapter 12, verse 29. This is the insight I want to grant unto us by the wisdom of Torah. I want to give us an example of what is first. These are the words of Yeshua, Mark 12, 29. Yeshua answered him. He says the protos, the first of all the commandments. Is there a first of all the commandments? And that's what the protos is. It is the one that ranks high above all. It is the one of the chieftain that generate the most influence, and not only that, but the principles that brings honor. The first child, named after the Avot, he becomes a junior unto him. It exudes this great ahava and a principle that one will lift their head highly to know that their first one is a son. The word first never change. This prototype, he says, the first of all the mitzvot, the commandment is, singular is, not are, but is. Shemach o YisraYah'ale, hear nation. That's the first commandment. To hear, Yah our Abba, he is Echad. He is one. No two, no three. He is one. Do you buy that as the words implies that the first? And so if there is a first, there must be a second. You cannot overdo the first. And you cannot supplant the first. The first. The first. And that is the emphasis that I want to emphasize by way of Torah and not by some principle of mine. Can I give us another example? This is Yochanan on the Isle of Patmos, and whereby Yah speaks by the power of his melach unto him. It says in Revelation, Gilyana, chapter 1, verse 5, and from Yeshua HaMashiach, who is the faithful witness. And look what it says. And he is the first. He is the prototachas. He is the firstborn. He is the first. Prototachas. That's the Greek emphasis. In essence, he is the firstborn. He is the firstborn. He is the one that has been birthed by the power of Yah's living word, because he is the living words. He is the first. He is the firstborn. He is the first begotten of the dead. And the prince of the kings of the earth, only one prince. This is not plural here, it's a prince of the kings of the earth. To him that loved us, he's the one that's loved us, and has washed us from our sins in his own blood. We must believe that, or it is just an unfruitful lie. I believe that. I know that he is the first. He is the first begotten, born after the order of this corrupt flesh, that did not sin, did not despise the Torah of Yah. He is the power and the fulfillment of Torah in this clay dwelling, operating by YHWH, that he overcame every form of sin. You cannot say the first is the first. He means what he says. You cannot say there are two firsts. It's a lie. You got first one and you got first two. No. The winner win the race, and the one that comes in second place. There is no two ones. It is only one. And this corruption of your vernal equinox has corrupted your mind, that you buy lies. You believe the lies of some invention that is imaginary. The line is imaginary. It is not a line, but we buy it because we love lies. But there is this circumference the earth is, and there is a latitude and a longitude, a latitude. There is a thing called the equator, but it is imaginary. It is a superficial time that man proposed for their own power to get wealth. And then there is a longitude or longitudes that separate the east from the west, times and all different. And this imaginary line gives you more fruitfulness of emphasis. This lie, and that's what it is, my friends, it is a flat out lie. The equinox, let me impose before I go further. I'm going to prove what the word first implies by Torah, not by some kind of intellectual scholarship from men, but what was written by the heart of the mind of Yah through the very pen of the Nobis, the prophets and messengers of Almighty Yah. May I ask you this question? If there is a first one and a first two, it says in Bereshit, Genesis, the beginning of all things, and the Rishon of the first one, the primary one that came out was red. You talk about Esau. He was first, not Jacob. He was first. And the principle of first never change. It amazes me that how we buy lies. I am the most ignorant man there is. That's why I can be taught. We think we're bright. We know everything without any kind of experience. And the first Rishon, he was a chief. Jacob stole his birthright. You can call it what you want to. He was the primary one for the blessings of Yah to proceed from the bosom of Abraham, his friend. The first one came out, it was red, all over like a hairy garment. And that is why his name is called Esau. Was he the first one? Was there a first one, first, and a second one, second? No, Jacob was the second one. He was not the first, he was the second one. He did not come first, he came second. And so if the principle of that first is correct, Yah only has one first. There cannot be a first second. You know, these are lies conjured from the gutters of darkness, and they are spoken and edified in the sense that it brings us into captivity by men that are ignorant. They will not examine things. They read things. but they do not examine each word. And that's what I'm doing tonight. We will go a little farther. Shlomo speaks here so profoundly. He speaks from the writings of the book of wisdom. And if you don't have these books, they are on our website, YahwehSword.org. You can find them. I've used this for I've had this, it's so old, for nearly 20 plus years. But it's sufficient. The book of wisdom says, I myself also am a mortal man, Shlomo speak, like to all, and I am the offspring. I'm not the progenitor, I'm the offspring of him that was first. Was there a first man? Or was a first man, then a first man, second man? We have construed the language of Yah. We have discombobulated and made lies and tried to twist them into truth. There is no 13th month. There is no vernal equinox. The day is not equal. There is nowhere where day and night in any part of the world whereby there is an equality. They are the same. 12, 12. And this is how we have been beguiled and befuddled. I don't believe the lie. I will not buy the lie. And it makes no difference if one wants my fellowship. I love the fellowship of YisraYah'ale. What a beautiful city. I was talking today to a young man in prison, and they know so much. And as I began to speak, I revealed to him and showed him how ignorant he is. And I told him that. And the thing that's rewarded me above all of that, he got quiet and he listened. I told him to write me, and he said, I'm going to write you now, this day, because he have heard those that agree with his sins. I will not agree with that. I will tell you how to come from under the bondage of lies, because he was telling me we can't even celebrate the Pesach, and the Jews cannot, and all of that. They will not even allow us. I said to him, sir, I would preach and teach at that prison some 12, 13 years ago. He said 10 years ago they shut it down. Let us get back to the principle of this teaching so we can understand first, uno, the number one. And everything proceeds from that by that pattern. By that pattern. The first son, first daughter, she is the example of the house. So is first. Let us understand even this to a degree, what Shlomo says. The first man of the earth was Adam. He is the offspring of Adam. There is only one Adam. And the Adam that brings about this revival, he brings it about from the first Adam. He is the Adam that made the Adam. Let us read here quickly in 1 Corinthians. In chapter 15, verse 45. Was there only one Esav or two? Oh, there were the type and the kind of him, but there was only one Esav. Only one. He was the first, and not Yaakov. Listen to what Shaul says here. 1 Corinthians 15:45. As he speaks unto us that were in Korea, he says, and so it is Chata. It is written. It is prescribed by the inkhorn. It is engraved. The first, the protos, the pattern and the example of everyone that will come after that kind, every man. Or the prototype. He is the proto, the first man, Adam. There is no second man in the sense that's the prototype of this nature of us that are natural. Calls him the protos. He was the first. He was a suche. He was a suche. In essence, it says so there. There was a breath of life in him. The vivid force which Yah placed in man that produced this animation, movement and talk and laughter. He was the first. He was the first. Does that imply first or second? A first and a second first. There is no such thing as one two times, in the sense that there is an identical twin, but it's in second place. This is the corruption that we have been taught. I could never see how this was right. And there are those that will not fellowship with me because of that. And I have no compunction at all. He was the first man. He was made a living suche. The last Adam, he's not the first, he said, that was made, but he talks about the last one. YHWH is the last one, but the last one was made a quickening, a lively. He was made a living ruach or ruach. He was made a living. YHWH is that last Adam. He was made a life source to us all. He did not call Hamashiach the first because he is the first of the first. He is the beginning of all things. And it all begins in Yah's Torah. And the second man is Yeshua. He's from Hashemayim. He's from the heavens. He was created by the power of Yah's word to express Yah's life. He became living. It was a living, high, full of life, full of Yah's robust nature. Adam was the first man. Esau was the first one. No second at all. He was the first. Let us, I want to speak from Hanukh. As we began this teaching, Hanukh 72, where this facetious lie has come to play, even in our conscience, that this thing called the vernal equinox, that it is the time of Yah's Pesach. No, the time of Yah's Pesach, his Passover, his Pesach, is when we identify the first month. There is no 13th month. Let me inject this again. Every year, the third year is always a year that is longer. Hanukh talks about 364 days. You have never kept a feast day within that scope, 364. You have never seen a time where they all come out, 364, unless you're one of those that they declare they have the Hanukh calendar. And I've looked everywhere. I'm a student. I am an investigator, a forensic. I use the forensic tools. Just like the beginning of forensic, Dr. Vidocq, to categorize criminals and study not only that, but the science of everything. So I studied the science of truth, words, and they must be applicable and apply to what is being expressed. Another way, look at what Hanukh says here in Hanukh 60, verse 8. And what Hanukh speaks here to us, he's speaking about the mysteries, the things that we don't see, we don't understand about nature. The things we don't understand. I will not tell you that lie. But what I do know, I know. And I will talk on that, against it, or for it. Look at the verbiage of Hanukh here, the 60th chapter, verse 8. He says, and the other, listen to what he says. He says, and the other, a male. He is called a behemoth, huge, gigantuan, in the strength, in the ideology, the thoughts. He's dealing with that kind. which hold his chest in an invisible desert. You're full of darkness. There is nothing in you. And his name is Dondayan. I search all these words. I go to every source I can to try to see the origin or the meanings of them. He said he was east of the Garden of Eden, wherein the elect, the Borchir, and the Sadiq, the righteous ones, dwell. Wherein my grandfather, listen to this carefully, Enoch 68, wherein my grandfather was taken. Listen to what he says. He said he was the seventh, and he was. He says he was the seventh from Adam, the first man. Now, is there a first that's a first of Adam? That's crazy. So how can you have a first of the first of a same first month? How can that be? So there are two firsts. You don't realize how insane that is and how crazy it sounds. It's not even a sense of any kind of thing that you can draw from. It's a made-up lie. It's a made-up lie. It is not what Yah command. The seventh from Adam, we're going to keep all of that in mind. Listen to this teaching. This is the fourth one. You need to begin at part 1, 2, 3, 4. There will be at least 7 to 12 of these teachings, because I want us to understand. People will call me, well, why your days? Because it's the righteous date. Those that believe in Hanukkah's calendar, you can't show me nowhere from Scripture. Just show me one verse. I don't need two to convince me. Just one place where there is a form of directive. Listen, nation. We keep every feast day. This is how you keep it. And that's a fact. Hallelujah. You're going to keep the feast day 1 year. You're going to keep it 353 days, 354 days, then the next year 383. And I believe this is your third year if you kept it just here during the pagan Easter time. And the next year you will keep it 383 days from here to Tabernacle. That's not a year. According to your made-up theses, I want to show you why you do that. Listen to this one, Eliphaz. Ejob had friends, that's why he had to pray for them. They showed him where he was wrong. This is what Eliphaz, when he reproves Ejob. Ejob, chapter 15, verse 7. Ejob 15:7. He says to Ejob, are you the first, Adam? Are you the first man that you sit here, you make your complaints that was born? He said, you're the first man that was born. Tell me, Ejob, if you were the first man that was born, or were you made before the Gibeah, the hills, the mountains of Yah, were you made before that? You're not the first man. You're not the first one to hear some strange things that are not based upon the principles of Yah. Let me stop here for one moment, because there is a site, and I know there's repetition of this site. I tell you in each teaching. It is called Chabad. And the reason I use it, I found it way before I began to write the rabbis, the YHWH University. I wrote people from every part of the Jewish spectrum. Give me one answer. Why is there 13th month? And they always directed me to Chabad. I knew this is a site that was introduced to us by the Lubavitchis, those of Poland, and their counsel, their lies, and their fat out lies. But look at what they say. This is what Menachem Pastor. He is like Menachem Shirsen. He is like their Moshiach. That's who they had claimed, that Menachem Shirsen, back in his days, that he was the Hamashiach. And I would watch that, as I've said in the meetings, when they would celebrate Hanukkah. And they would have people, back then, you got to understand, that was, oh my. Internet did not come into existence until 2003. In the sense of Facebook, internet was not even up until 1983. I was one of the first persons on the internet, just factual. There were only 2 million people on there when I was on there. And how many? Billions beyond billions. And I will watch the Hanukkah service of theirs. And they were panned from Paris, New York, Los Angeles, everywhere. Everywhere there was a major contingency of Jews, they would. And the men would sing in this, they were singing the dialect of the language. I'm not mocking, I'm trying to mimic. When he was kind of a diminished man, his stature, his size, I would watch it on PBS, public broadcasting. That's how long that was. You were not even born, many of you all. And the old man would stand with this beautiful long beard here. He would stroke his beard, he would stand, and everyone would get quiet. He would walk to the rostrum, and everyone would get quiet when the old man would stand. And then Menachem Shirsen or Menachem, he will retreat and sit down. And they began to sing. I like the music, I did. I'm not going to lie to you. It sounded energetic and energizing. Men with their sons on their shoulders and their babies. And then when that old man began to talk, everything was quiet. And so this is the one of that same order that Menachem Pastor came from. Let me read. This is from their site. It is www.chabad, CHABAD.org. I do want to credit them for their information. And these are the 13 facts about Jewish leap year. I condemn any leap year. It's a lie. Even Chanukah doesn't talk about a leap year. And you Chanukah calendar keepers, you keep it the same way. You can't make a year up at the end. These are, let me read part of them. These are the facts why that there must be a leap year. The term leap is not found in Torah. Not leap year. Not at all. Period. The term lunar solar year is not mentioned. But I will show you every month that is a lunar month that is mentioned. And that's another teaching. The first principle is that declare a leap year is part of the first mitzvah. Mitzvah. Where is that? It says in Exodus 12, Yah commanded us to observe the Pesach in the spring. It doesn't say that. It tells us the month. And you use the calendar, you Jewish people. Your first month is Nisan, which has some connotation to Hebrew Israelitism is concerning the meaning, but the meaning of that is fluctuate. The month Nisan, it's supposed to imply miracles. He did not say, remember the spring. Because Yah's people are scattered. I taught that in one teaching. He scattered them all over the world. So if we buy the northern and southern hemisphere, we in the northern hemisphere is spring. You must understand in the southern hemisphere, when we have the vernal equinox, they're having the autumnal. They're in the autumn. And so they celebrate tabernacle every year in the winter. And we enjoy, we fluctuate things and twist things so we can always have it in the spring and go through the field the kind of hot months. But tabernacle, we want all that to be a nice time. We get it out tense. And look what it says. The Hebrew leap year ensures that the Jewish, it doesn't say calendar, but the Jewish calendar remains true. But this is a lie. It remains true to the solar cycle so that the holidays are celebrated in the right time. They're celebrated by the commands of Yah. Has nothing to do with cycle or time, spring, winter, has nothing to do with that. And each one represents a trial of our great journey here. The winter represents the great harshness in the trial that YisraYah'ale went through. And the autumn, they look from coming from the summer, making preparation and a time to try to make sure that everything is aligned. That's what the autumn is. In this country, it's one of the most devastating times of the year. You have more suicides in autumn than any time of the year. Fact. And so they're in autumn, and so by the time we come around to celebrate our Pesach, then the dead of winter. And so you tell me there are none that are in South Africa that are Yah's people? Well, there are Jews there in Australia. There are plenty of Jews there. That's where money comes from. The Jewish alliances. There is nowhere where the word solar is in Torah. The word Yom means a lunar or a solar day because it's governed by the sun, but there is nowhere in Torah. So you cannot make this lie work. You can deceive yourself and make it work. I will not do it for no one. No one. This is the second order of one of the most prominent principles. This is the second fact. Is this a fact? Unlike the Gregorian and the Julian leap year, in which an extra day is added, the Jewish leap year has an entire month. I will be a monkey's uncle. That was a proverbial saying in my days when I was young, during the 50s and things of that nature, and 60s. That's not so. That's a lie. Show me where y'all tell us to add an extra day. We're such wicked people, we will buy lies because we know that our lives are full of lies. Truth is intended to scar you, but it heals as well. Look at what they call the third fact of the Jewish calendar. Fact 3, on the secular calendar, the date drifts by 1 day per year. Listen closely. So if January 1st is on Sunday this year, it will be on Monday the next year. Well, certainly it will. That's the order of Yah's time. And so on. In the event of a leap year, the extra day will cause it to be a leap from Sunday to Tuesday. So they are trying to speak in a language in the sense that no, it means from Sunday to Monday. Henceforth the name leap year, this is, of course, does not apply to the additional month added to the Jewish calendar. The Jewish leap year is known as the Shana Mi'ubratz. Shana Mi'ubratz, a pregnant year. Show me that anywhere in Torah. Show me that anywhere in Torah where it talks about a pregnant year. Show me anywhere. Show me that expression. Show me Shana Mi'ubratz, a pregnant year. Or perhaps more properly, an enlarged year. In all your literature, you utilize the word pregnant and enlarged, since it is temporarily larger than usual. I want to read the first 5, all right? Verse 4, the fourth principle and factual of the leap year. The various calculation, there is only one calculation. He gives us the Chodash, the moon, that an ignorant man like me unlearned, and those that have been taught the principles of Yah, they can know. Goes in to determine the length of each year, are known as Sadcha Ibru. Sadcha Ibru. Shad can be translated either secret or counsel. And these are the men, and those were the men, what they call the Sanhedrins, even the Kabbalism. Those are the councils that ordained this kind of corruption. You walk in it. Hebrew Israelites, you walk in it. And the same thing. You have bought the same lie. I will not buy it. I will not buy it. And the fifth one is this. This is the fifth factual proof of evidence. When something is a fact, there's empirical evidence. The number one, there is empirical evidence in every nation. Every nation. Their first may come at a different season, but it's still the first. Their custom may have a first of the first year, but it's still the season. It was done by the central court. I know of no central court that the Torah talks about. There were the Gadol Kain, those that were of that order, and they were so corrupt, it was pathetic, that they brought great death and devastation. That's why YHWH had to go in and say, you dirty damn dogs, and kick them out. Verse 5. It was done by the central court, declared a leap year. Yeah, central court is Torah. We must meet in the center of Torah. That's where the central deliberations come from. It's not opinionated. It is established. YHWH HaMashiach, the first one. The first one. He established all that. And you cannot change that, my friends. This is the one, the rabbinical court of the Sanhedrin. According to Rabbi, or the Rebbe Meir, it was conducted by a panel of 3 judges. Listen on, 3 men, 3 judges. It talks about Rabbi Shimon ben Gamaliel, however, taught the 3 stages who began the conversation. Then there were 2 more to join, 2 more rabbis for the declaration. And another 2 were added for the final declaration. So they were not persuaded by Rabbi Shimon ben Gamaliel. They were not persuaded by those men. It's a lie. Let us see what the Torah says. I do believe that I have established what first implies. So I want to move on. I want you to understand, nation, my heart is with us. I know it's hard to receive this, but hear it out. Go through each stage of these teachings and challenge me. I don't mind you challenging me. And see if I can prove it in the book. It says here in Chanukh. Chanukh speaks of this luminary, the sun, its course. And also he speaks of this powerful light-giving source, sun and moon. But he says this in Chanukh 72, verse 6. In this manner it rises, it elevates itself. It rises in the first month, Chodash. You can identify that word any way you want to, but it means when the first day of the month, when you identify that slither of the moon, when you see that slither piece of the moon, after the waxing of the moon, the dark side, and it is renewed. Like I set precedent in the beginning with Dawid when he was in the field. And when the moon, the Chodesh had come, he got out. And Hanuk speaks of this. He talks about the first moon to the major gate. It proceeds through the gate which is the fourth among those 6 openings, which are located in the direction of the east. If you ask them that, they will not, or what is that, the phases of the moon? What are those 6 gates? They don't even take the time to express those things. I'm going to show you that at a later teaching. I will show you. You must understand what the gates of Yah are. He's talking about the heavens. He says, by the 4th gate, through which the sun rises during the first month, this opening that reveals unto us this slither of the dynamics and the power, not only of Yah's time, but it's evident of this great thing we call the sun. It rises during the first month. There are 12 openings of windows. Does that represent the 12 months of the year, or 13? He says, from which a flame flows when they are open at the appropriate time. Let me get a swig of water. It is an appropriate time for every month, every time of the season. Everything is appropriate. It has been appropriated by Yah. He sets the time. And this is what man has done. He has altered that. He has brought you under that delusion that you rather believe a lie than the truth. And then you will try to debate an ignorant, simple man like me that believes what the word says. We must follow the evidence of history. That's what a forensic examiner in anything, in law or anything, you must always go back to the Reshith, the beginning. The origin of things, that concept, the invention. You cannot go and begin in the middle or the end. That is amazing, because most people, when they have the lightest of experience with Yah, the first book they go to is Revelation, and they know everything. They know everything that the book expresses. You cannot reveal anything. That's the way you have been molded and shapen. We are not those that are eager to learn, that we will be quiet and be taught. It's almost like a child trying to tell the parent and knows more than the parent, when the parent is the one that brought you forth. And they're smarter than the parent and parents. It's not that way, my friend. So let us begin from Adam to us and see if there was a first month, and then every 3rd year there was a first, second month. It's a lie. It's of the deep darkness of hell. I will not apologize for that. Let me prove all things in Torah, not my words. Let us begin in Bereshit, in Genesis. And this is the first place in Torah the word math is used. And this is what established the pattern, YisraYah'ale. You must always go back to the beginning. Always. You can't start in Exodus or Leviticus, why Yirah. You can't start there. You must start at the Bereshit. And you will not be taken by the lies of these corrupt people. Let us go back to Bereshit, Genesis chapter 7, verse 11. Genesis 7:11. It talks about the 600th year. First time it used to express an event. The 600th year is so precise. of Noah's life. He was 600 years old. That's how old he was. It tells us in the second month. The second month. The second month. How precise Yah is. It tells us the 17th day of the month. And the same day were the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven, the Shemayim, and they were open. Jodach. They were open. The floods of the heavens. It began to pour. He's precise in the year. He's precise in the month. He did not say the third month. You buy all of that. You believe it, don't you? He was precise on the date, the 17th day of that month. Yah opened the windows of the heavens, and terror began to fall upon man. I wanted to read that because you're cognate of Bereshit. Now from here I will use the multiples of the writings of Chanukh and Jubilees, and all of them, Ezra 1, 2, 3, I will use all of that for. I want to go to Jubilees, chapter 5, verse 22. Concerning Noah, Jubilees 5:22. And Noah made the ark in all respects, all that Yah commanded him, that Yah commanded him. In the 27th Jubilee. It's about the Jubilee, the 27th. And there are those that become so masterful, they can tell you every Jubilee. They're liars. They determine that by the form of history and the dates and times. You got so many different calculations, so many people, and they all warp it for their own sake. I don't buy any of them. I live by the presence of his truth that convinces me and convicts me of my sin. I don't want to hear nobody that can convict me of my sin and show me my corruption, my evil thoughts, and my evil ways. This was the 20th and 7th Jubilee. He precise on the week, the 5th week. In the 5th year, look on. Let me do this because I know it's difficult for you to believe me, but I want to show you what the word, I have a dictionary here. What the word on mean is what? On. The word on mean. It produced itself to operate as an adjective and adverb, and the word on as an adverb, whereby it's used, it is plan or schedule. That's what it was. Indicate the continuance or persistence of a concentration or a connection. So that one little word there is so powerful. On, not between, but it tells us on the Hodash, the new month of the first month. The first month, the Hodash. That is when the crescent is sighted. And so it talks about the 5th, even in the 5th year, it was done on the first month. It was when the YisraYah'ale, the moon that slither, first month. Not first two, precisely the first month. And if we understand with some, there are different calculation, 4,000, 7,000. But between Adam and Moshe, Adam and Chanukh, Moshe, there were nearly 16, Adam and Noah, there were nearly 1,600 years. The first was still first then. It is first now. Oh, there are those that would say, well, it was at least 1,056 years. The flood did not come until Noah was 600 years old. So it had to be minimum 1,600 years. We're not going to debate that. We're debating the first. Hallelujah. We see in Jubilees, even Yah gave him direction and directed him. The first month. He did not say second month, but the first month. He commanded him. The first month he commanded him. Well, let's look at verse 30 of the same chapter. Jubilees chapter 5, verse 30. Look at this now. Let's see if there's a consistency of time. This damnable lie they call the vernal equinox has nothing to do with Yah. It has all kinds of plays within the context or within the central focus of all kind of God worship. From the Wiccans to the pagan Christians and all of that. And you tell me that he gave that sign for you as a Hebrew Israelites? As a Jew? His ways are not our ways. It's strange his ways and how they baffle us. Make it look dumb. We don't like to look dumb. I don't mind Yah. I'm ignorant as they come. I am. Look at verse 30 of Jubilees 5:30. Look what it says so precisely. It says this to us. And on, that word on again, precisely, on the new moon of the 10th month. The 10th month. The new moon. Moshe in that belly of darkness and death. The top of the mountain were seen. And the new moon of the first month of the earth became visible. The new moon of the first month. The new moon, that's what we should look for. You should teach your children to moon watch. We teach all of our babies. We gather on that. And when we don't see it, if it's cloudy or something, we go back the next night. It is the new moon of the first month. The new moon of the first month, the earth became visible because that light shone. Moshe saw that beginning of life. He knew that earth was going to be repaired, and that was a beginning or renewed beginning of the birth. We have charlatans as leaders and liars. And that's just factual. That's factual. When he saw that, Yah laid out the first for him. So from Adam to the first month, it has never changed. There is no intercalary. There is no kind of inserting a first to the first second. You don't see that. And if you find it, if you show me any place, I will stop teaching this day. And Yah be my witness. And if I don't, kill me, Yah. You can't find it. It's a lie. It's made up by corrupt men. They want your money. They live well. It's amazing that every time I would write those of the Jewish persuasion, I wrote all kinds, many of the different assemblies I wrote, and they all turned me to Chabad. But I knew about Chabad. Their members probably don't know about Chabad. And that's where everything is generated, whether they're Orthodoxy, whether they're liberal, whether they are resurrectionist Jews, you know, whether Joshua HaMashiach, they believe in him, whether they're Messianic. This is the place, because their traditions are based upon the Sanhedrins and the council of what they call the elders. That's what their principles are based upon. It's not based upon Torah. You trying to offend, well, if they offend Yah, I offend any man. I don't care who it is. If he's a black man, if he's a Hebrew Israelite, if he's a Christian, I don't care who it is. I'm not going to let them feed me lies. Now you can, but I will never allow them to feed me things that are untrue unless they can show me. I will not fight any person if they show me in Torah. You show me one thing. You show me one scintilla of the small fragment, and I would take that and search it beyond the expression that you could even show me. That's a fact. Moving on, nation. Jubilee 6. I want you to hear this. There is nothing in Yah's time that has not been measured by the moon. Every event, every time, every season, And that is why Noah, when he went forth out of the ark, he made atonement, a type. It says in Jubilees 6:23, it says, and the new month of the first month, Chodesh, that's when the waxen crescent began to be visible. I got all kinds of calendars and themes and moon calendars. And I found two that are precise every time as we watch. And we watch, we do. Our children get excited. We shoot basketball and all of that until the new crescent. We see that, we rejoice. Let me begin there again in Jubilees 6:23. And the new month of the first month, the Chodesh, and the new month of the fourth month, and the new moon of the seventh month. I'm not concentrated on the events. All I want to do is signify whether the first month is actual, is truthful, or is some made up lie. But everything the month began, you can see on the new Chodesh, the renewed, the appearance. And on the 10th month as well. He said, are days to remember and days of the season in the fourth division of the year of the Shonef. The Shonef is measurement of time and seasons. That's all the word Shonef means. It means a year, but it's a measurement of time. That's the meaning and what it implies. These are written and ordained, he says, as a testimony forever. And Noah ordained them for himself as feasts. It was written in the annals of the Shemayim. He ordained them as feasts for the generation forever, so that they become thereby a memorial unto them. Listen closely now. They become a memorial unto them. They become a memorial unto him. Verse 25. And on the new moon of the first month, that's amazing. And on the new moon of the first month, it says this, he was hidden, he was bidden to make for himself an ark. And on that day of the earth became dry, he opened the ark and he saw the earth. He saw it. It was not some dark place. He saw the light of promise. He saw the earth. And on the new moon of the fourth month, and the depths of the abyss beneath, they were closed. And on the new moon of the seventh month, and all the mouths of the abyss, the earth, they opened, and the waters began to descend in them. Verse 27, important. And on the new moon of the 10th month, the top of the mountain was seen. New moon. That was light. That showed the silhouette of that. It couldn't have been dark. The dark side, no, it was light nation. He saw, and there you that use the book of Jubilees. I do. I've been using these books for many years. There's a teaching I did on the missing or the lost books of Torah. I preached that many years ago. I'm going to revive that, not change anything, but enhance it and bring it more vivid to us. He says, and Noah was glad. Noah was glad when he saw that. I don't blame him. In darkness. And then Yah opens up that abyss of darkness and light shone. No, it wasn't dark when he looked out. There was the moon, light. And on this account, he ordained for himself as the feast for memorials forever, Olam Viad, and thus are they ordained. And they placed them on the heavenly tablets. Each had 13 weeks from one to another, pass their memoria from the first to the second, and from the second to the third, and from the third and to the fourth. And all the days of the commandments will be 52 weeks of days, and these will make an entire year complete. And thus it is engraved and ordained in the heavenly tablets. Therefore it does not neglect here. Now how is it that your Chanukh calendar, you that are, I'm a Hanukkah enthusiast. I don't know of many men that were teaching out of this book before me. I've been preaching for a long time. I have. And there are those that think that they got it. And they know it. But they really don't. Let me examine. There's something I want to examine. Where is that? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Let me go here. This is where I want to go. Hallelujah. These are the things that we must understand, nation. We must. And we cannot negate them at all. And so we look at the time from Noah to Moshe. Hanuk talks about the 13th. Noah talks about the first month. Hanuk talks about it. The 7th from Adam. And on down the line, they talk about it. I want us to visit this. Let me read one of the principles of the of the Jewish religion, whereby there are factors, or the 13 facts about Jewish leap year. Even in their doctrine, the Jewish, even in the Kabbalism, Kabbalah, and also in the Talmud, it talks about the number system. The number, every country, the words all have almost basically the same kind of number system. And we know that 13 is the number of every kind of corruption and evil. So these are evil lies here. These are flat out evil, corrupt lies. That's what it says in the 7th principle. Look what it says here now. There were other factors to alter the time and the season and introduce a 13th month or a leap year. Sanhedrins also considered several non-seasonal related factors. If the roads or the bridges were in disrepair due to the wintry rain season, for example, that would impede the ability of the pilgrims to travel to Yerushalayim for Passover, declaring a leap year. What lies? Leap year give crews time to get everything ordered. Let me say this to you, nation. It is a flat out year because every 3rd year there is a leap year. They add the month. And this was not done in those days. This is what has come to fruition. And that's a fact, nation. And this is what the outcome of this, that we are lied to and we are bewitched by this. Because the roads, you can get anywhere you want to in this country. So you don't need to add a 13th month. You can fly, you can drive, you can boat, or anything. You can walk. Look at the principle 8. This is one of their principles. It is now fixed to happen. Listen now, 7 out of 19 years. Why 19 years? Because it is the cycle of the Meltonic Meton. He was a Greek philosopher, an astrologist that studied the stars and the moon and the sun for 19 years. That is what that is. It is the Metonic cycle. That's what it is. These are lies. And they tell you where they got this from. I talked to one day, well, it's not that. That's how foolish we are, because we let our own ignorance of our own unwillingness to blind us. Look what it says in the 8th principle. It is now fixed to happen. Who fixed it? It was fixed from the Bereshit, from the principle of his first. Out of 19 years. It tells us how it would fix. It says in the 4th century CE, before the common era, that the one they call the sage, Hillel, the second foresaw the central court would soon crumble because it was based on lies. And he declared a leap year. Now this is their sage, just like your sage is doing. In your lives you declare a leap year. Will no longer be viable. He and his rabbinical council established a perpetual calendar. Look at this. You can find this. You go to www.chabad.org. That will not work. So they did this cycle, same as the Babylonian and all. They said, we will make us a permanent calendar. The calendar of YisraYah'ale is not one permanent, because you don't know when the first month. From that month, the first month is always changing. It works in a reversal, in the circular. That's what it does. He says this in the 9th principle. This is what he says, what I've been telling you. That it can be, this is what the year can be. 385, I don't care what persuasion you are, you keep it like that. 383, that's not the 52 weeks Chanukah talks about. Or 383 days long. The longest possible year is 385. At times, however, the leap year can be only 383 days. This is because the month of Shavan and Kislev can have either 29 or 30 days. So they establish their own calendar. They tell you how many days. And how can you that say you love Yah and that you know what you're saying is the truth, and these are the principles that you follow? I don't care if you're a Hebrew Israelite. I don't care if you're a Jew. I don't care what your persuasion is. If you're independent, you follow this calendar here. You don't follow Yah's calendar. And they tell you that he was the one that ordained, because he knew the council of the Sanhedrin, it was based on lies, that they would fall. He knew that. And he said we will generate a perpetual calendar about concerning the cycle of all of that visual that Metan saw. And that's how the calendar is based. You don't know that because your leaders don't know that. And so they give you anything. And they can. It's one thing that, show me a leader that goes through and explain the feast days and how they come about. Send me an email and I'll send me the site information. I want to stop there on that. And I want to begin here. We see the time elapsed from Adam through Noach, through Chanukah, Noach. We see that here in the time of Moshe, that when Yah spoke to him, they coming out of Mitzrayim, these are his words in Shemoth, Exodus 12:1. Exodus 12:1. It says, and Yah spoke to Moshe and Haran in the land of Mitzrayim, saying, these are the words of Yah, not my words. I will not debate him. He said, this Chodesh shall be to you the beginning, the Rush. It should be the principal month. It shall be the beginning of all things. And all things always return to this. They must always return to the Rush, the head of the month. It shall be the Rishon, the first month of the year, of the Shanef, or Shanef. The division of time, the measurement of time, the lifespan, this shall be the first month. I don't care how old you are. To you. That's what Yah said to those that he ordained and give a command to speak the truth. And speak that which he has ordained. The first does not change here. The first month does not change from the beginning with Noach. It doesn't change at all. Period. And it hasn't changed with Moshe. He still speaks of the first month. Somewhere, my friends, look, there must be an indication that there is a first month. The same equinox that you talk about, or as far as the where the sun shines on the earth, that was in Yah's days. He made it that way. But you use that because of your lust and your own greed and your own riches. And so you have incorporated that into the very truth of Yah. It's a lie. It is a wicked lie. There is no lie more wickeder than that. It is wicked, wicked, wicked. You can't hold on to that. And you can't even explain why you do it. Explain it to me. Any of you messengers, any of you men, explain it to me. Show me the indication. Show me how. It's not that way. Shemoth, Exodus, chapter 12, 18. This is what he says. We change the months of Yah. We change the dates of Yah. We do all that. We have done all of that, nation. Look what it says here in Shemoth, Exodus 12, 18. In the first month, you would think somewhere during this span of all these years, you would think that in this span, somewhere, the Yahweh make mention. If that is one important thing, why would he not tell us this? Even pure love would make him show us the example. You have determined that. It is not Yah, your scholars have determined that. And you're going to make sure it's done when you want it, the spring of the year. That's a lie. This weather here for me is not spring-like. We have a fire in our wood-driven stove. It's cold. So that means you can delay that, you of your Sanhedrin council, until it's spring-like. Isn't that amazing? He directs him precisely first month, the date, 14th day of the month of the Chodesh. He gives him precise time at Erep, at evening, right between, before the sun goes completely down. There's this time whereby there's some light, but it's darkness. It's not dark, but there's some lightness, but there's a shade there. You shall eat the matzvah until the 1 or the 21st day of the month at evening. How is it that he is so precise here? Show me, nation, please, whereby there was an Adar 1 and an Adar 2. They want to make sure they keep tabernacle and that part. And I tell you, November and October, when the last one was October for you all, it was pretty chilly. And I live in the deep south, and it's cold here, in Jefferson, South Carolina. He also goes, I'm kind of showing us in this sequential pattern, the sequence of it. Line upon line, verse, in the sequence of the order. Exodus 41. It says that Yah commanded Moshe when they set up the tabernacle, the Bayit. He says it precisely this way, and Yah Amah, he spoke. He spoke with a viable voice to Moshe. And then this is what he uttered. On the first day of the first month, 40 years in the wilderness we will see. And you tell me that there was no altering of that. 400 years under the stewardship of Mizraim here, and there is no presentation of that. Something is wrong, nation. It's not Yah that is wrong. It's you. It's us. Because we've been taught wrong, and we're afraid to let go of things that we've been shown wrong. I'm not afraid of that. I wasn't afraid to turn loose Jesus, or I didn't celebrate the pagan days even in that. I didn't celebrate Christmas or any of that. Easter, I celebrated nothing. Not a birthday or nothing. There's no such thing as a birthday. You were born on a day. That's not a day of birth. That passes. He told him when to set up this tabernacle. On the first day of the first month. Why? You shall set up the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation. Because in the first month, in the first day of the first month, you know that there was something that preceded that. And you did not want that to overtake you. You wanted to have everything up and on time. You're not following something that your leaders, your Hebrew Israelite leaders, have taught you some of the greatest things since the beginning of time. They lied to you. Because they know that those kinds of times they don't jar with them. This is what jar with me, the book. And I don't care when it is, I will count it just like Yah. I don't add a 13th month. Because that's a lie. There is no such thing as a 13th month. There is no such thing as any second of any month. If it's the fourth month, there's no second of the fourth month. It's a lie. There's no one that does that. But those that call themselves Jews, and you that call yourself Hebrew Israelites. No one else. That's factual. And it came to pass in the first month, in the second year. You tell me that the first month from the second year different than the first month of the first year? On the first day of the month, the tabernacle was raised. Even in the second year. But it was still the first month. I see no time lost there, nothing being inserted there. He identifies the first month, the Chodesh. He identifies it. It's emphatic. Nowhere in Mizraim, here, they come out that even in that time, they kept it on the same day in bondage. When the death Melechim of Yah was destroying every firstborn. Why the firstborn? Because it's the first month. Let's look at this challenge here, the Pesach, Chag Matzvah. It says in YisraYah'ale Leviticus, chapter 23, verse 5. It tells us precisely. We know that Yah is precise. And we have to be cold-hearted, not to trust him and trust the opinion or the calculation of someone else. I don't trust what they say. If it matches up with this, I buy it. I would bless them. I would send them an offering. And that's just a fact. It says in Shemoth, Exodus 40:16, so Moshe did all he performed according to all that Yah commanded him. This is what Yah has commanded us the first month. He has not commanded us in the second month. And he did. Verse 17, and it came to pass in the Chodesh, the first month of the second year, the first day of the month, again now, the tabernacle was raised up. I want to reiterate that, nation. Look at the 23rd chapter. Verse 5. In the 14th day of the first month, at evening, at Ereb, Yah's Pesach. And on the 15th day of the same month is Chag Matzvah. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. How is it, nation, that Yah is so precise here? The first month, where has there been an alteration, or the months have altered, that he speaks of a first with the second part? Because the roads are bad. There are times when there was a Pesach twice in Torah, and we'll touch on that. There are 2 times when those that could not keep it when Yah commanded, that it was kept in the second month, but at the same time. And Hezekiah, the king, But Yah makes no provision. And there are those that, well, we can keep it the second. That's a lie. You just stop your daily activities or those things in your time and keep it. Let us examine this. In Bimidbar, in the wilderness, Yah spoke of the Pesach. It says in Numbers 9:1. And Yah spoke to Moshe in the Bimitzvah of Sinai, in the first month of the second year. First month now, they've gone in the wilderness in the second year. After they were come out of the land of Mizraim, Yah spoke to him. He gave him instructions as what to do. When? The first month. Verse 5 of Numbers 9, it says this, verse 5, Numbers 9, and they kept the Pesach in the 14th day of the first month at evening in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all your commandments, Moshe. So they did that, the children of YisraYah'ale. And there are those that will not keep them or them. Say, well, he didn't. Oh, well, you got to go to Jerusalem. I can show you in Torah where they did not. They were in the wilderness and they kept Yah's time. It's not based upon some tradition or some perverted thing that some group has organized. Everything is based on Torah and nothing else. I'll return back to Torah. Let me read this from Chabad. What are the 10th most important thing of them having, or they can declare a leap year? He said, if a rental contracts can be complicated. It says, if a rental contract, specifically, a price per year, and then the leap year was declared the 13th month. This, Yah did not declare a 13th month. Nowhere in Torah. These are lies. These are perverted lies. And next year you will have a 13th month. Next year you will have a 13th month because they don't want it to begin to go backwards. Hallelujah. He always takes us back. As the old song in my days of youth, take me back. Take me back. And through those times that they were difficult for us, the trials of winter, cold in our home, lack of food and things like that. And you were glad to see the spring, the summer, the spring come, refreshing in life. And then the summer brought about fruitfulness and growth. You rejoice, school is out, and those kind of things. And the autumn, it was some kind of a dismay at times, but you're excited about the autumn, the refreshing of the winter. The snow is coming. Let me read this again. Look at this now. Look at this. If this is not insane, this is by the Sanhedrin. I didn't write it. This is the 10th. A contract. If you have a contract with someone, you pay them 12 months. And then there's a 13th month. Listen to this. In a rental contract specify a price per year. And then the leap year was declared, the 13th month was included in the set rental. If the contract specified the price per month, however, the 13th month must be paid separately. This is so stupid. It is crazy. And so how do you get back from 13 to 1? In the event of the contract listeth both 100 per month, 1,200 per year, for example, then the renter is at a disadvantage. You must pay for the 13th month. You know, that is so stupid because even they don't do that. They're renting an apartment. In New York, the rent is $1,500 for a studio a month. They're not boning up. I said that way. They're not boning up another 1,500 to the landlords. Y'all's time is precise. It's not based upon some frivolity and some folly of some kind of stupid imagination. This is not of y'all. I don't care who says this. Jew, Hebrew, it makes no difference. Black man, white man, it is flat out foolish. It's a lie. It does not conjive in Torah. It does not speak the way that Torah speaks. There is nowhere in Torah that gives us any kind of indication of this sort. The 11th fact. Fact is that which is proven. Proven in Torah. That's what a fact is. It is based on that which is factual, can be proven. I found no one to prove that to me. I found no one to offer me one verse. I found an old man to say, well, y'all sure talks about the 12 hours in the day. Well, that's in part 1. I addressed that. There is no 12 hours in the vernal equinox. And the only time you get almost close to a day that is of the same duration, day and night, it's around June. And that's the only time. And it's still not equal. Equal is the perfect balance. And they say that, the Hanuk says equal. Well, that's a perfect balance. It must be 12 hours. It cannot be, one cannot be 11 hours and 30 minutes. It must be 12. That's what equal is. It is balance. It is preciseness. And these are the lies they've taught us. And our leaders, it's not that I'm speaking against men, but we're gullible. And we have bought into those lies because everyone believes it. I will go Yah's way. I'm not going on my own. I'll go Yah's way. Hallelujah. Look at the 12th one. I want to read both of these, the 12th and the 13th. And we will get back to this teaching. It says 60 days of joy. Our sage says, Adar enters with increase in joy. I don't know about that. I've seen all kind of Jewish people in there. I don't see where that joy is. They have joy in their traditions. This book doesn't speak about tradition. It speaks truth. Increasing of joy every day, an additional Adar means. That is so amazing. So if you have an additional Adar, means that there is so much more joy and something worth celebrating. No lie is ever worth celebrating. My friends, you follow that lie. You follow the same. Don't write me and ask me why do I keep mine like I do. I keep it according to the Torah. That way. And I know it's going to end up in the winter. It's going to end up in the fall. It's going to end up in the spring. It's going to go back to the winter. It's going to be that way. He did not make this complex like this. Brilliant counselors, they are. And telling you 2 months, you give folks Christmas 2 months, they're burnt out. Let them have 2 Decembers then. You celebrate Christmas twice. It's just a proverbial, perverted lie. There's no truth to that. And then there are 13 factual, this is what it says, 13 facts about Jewish leap year. I don't find a leap year nowhere in Torah. It says we have tons more for you to read about the Jewish leap year. That was all just a taste. This is a lie. It's with no taste for me. Want to learn more about the leap year is how significant, and its application. Here are some articles that we will express concerning the leap year. I am going to read some more of those in this teaching. And I want to show you that it is a flat-out lie. Yah does not intend for us to replicate these lies. Period. Tabernacle, the moads, all of Yah's moads, they will be in every season of his 4 seasons. They will. That's facts. That's facts. Every season. where those in South America will be enjoying the warmth of this springs. And we can see what it's like in the cold of winter for our tabernacle, as they do all the time. Period. One says to me, well, the time is set by YisraYah'ale. Well, I have material, as I said to you, first teaching. There's a website called www.timeanddate.com. There is nothing scientific that's not on that site. You can go back years. You can see when the equinox was. Let me just go to that, and I want to finish up this teaching. The equinox, the vernal equinox, was what, the 20th of this year of April, the 20th, and there was a difference on that day in time. It was 1 hour 48 minutes, almost 2 hour difference. There was no balance 12. Only thing you got to do is go and watch the time, and there is no balance 12. Sunrise and sunset, 6:05 as it rise, sets at 7:11. It's a difference. And they feature these lies, what Hanuk says, those are lies, nation. And if I search this is in YisraYah'ale. I'm looking at that in YisraYah'ale, the day of the vernal equinox. It was not even. They give us the meridian. Do you understand what they call meridian time? It is just the word meridian. Let me show you what the word meridian means. I'm going to type this in to my dictionary. I use an assortment of dictionaries. The Princeton, I use them all. And see, the word meridian, they call the meridian timeline. Let me show you what they have. They show you all the times on here as well. Let me show you what the word meridian means. Just like this fraudulent term, equinox. You show what the word meridian means. It is the meridians, it is a Chaldean numerology. The numeric value of meridian in the Chaldeans, the definition. This is what it implies here. It means nothing, nation. That's from dictionaries of definitions. I will show you what it implies here. Let me find this. What the word meridian means, just like equinox. Is what the word meridian implies. It is a circle of constant longitude through a given place or the Earth's surface, that there are terrestrial poles. What is terrestrial? You don't see that. Terrestrial poles. The European broadcast area extends into the Atlantic meridian. It is actually a fake, made-up thing. It is not real. No more than the equator. No more than the equinox. Period. Has nothing to do with Yah. Let's go back to Bimidbar numbers. Hallelujah. Bimidbar numbers, chapter. Hallelujah. Let's go to Numbers chapter 20. Numbers 20. I want to read this. Numbers 20. Then came the children of YisraYah'ale, verse 1, Numbers 20, Bimidbar 21. Even the whole congregation into the desert of Zin. When? The first month. How is it that Yah is so precise? We can see they kept the Pesach. And 40 years in the wilderness, somewhere he offers unto us a glimpse of this eternal, of this vernal equinox. that there is a 13th month. It's either we are lying and we're cheating Yah, or he's cheating us and he's a liar. 40 years you never see any kind of addition to the year of Yah. Show me one place, that's all I ask you. I will repent. I'm not ashamed to say I was wrong. I was ignorant. Bless Yah for you to show me my stupidity and my ignorance. I am an unlearned man. Nowhere we can see. I'll show us. Nowhere. And that's what the Torah teaches us, and tells us, and shows us. They came out in the first month into the desert of Zin, and the people abode in Kadesh, and that's where Miriam died, and that's where she was buried. And that's where she died, and that's where she was buried. Somewhere, nation, listen please, there will be some indication that there's a 13th month. And every 3 years, listen to me, be honest with yourselves. You that follow that kind of construct, that they look for the barley, you know every 3 years, you know it's factual. They never find the barley in Yerushalayim. They don't even grow barley there. You can go to the agriculture department of that piece of land called Israel. If anything, they import it. It's hardly any barley to be found there. They don't grow it. They don't grow barley even in that part of the world. Very little barley is grown in that part of the world. And yet they will go out the first month and say, we found no barley, so we got to declare it and Adar too. Don't you know how stupid that sounds? It is ignorant. Well, there's no farmer there, you know, that grows barley. Or we go for the wild barley. They couldn't even tell you how many species of barley there is. I do my diligence to understand what species do they grow there. They don't tell you that. You know I'm telling you the truth. Watch next year. And if I'm lying, I will stop. Next year or the year, I think it's next year. It is the 383 day to tabernacle. Watch. They will not find the barley if they didn't find it this year. They will always, every third year. I will show us that in the teachings to come. I know I'm going to repeat things, but I want to show you the emphasis of why I'm repeating those kinds of things. Bimidbar, Numbers 28:16. Miriam dead. Moshe getting old, it says, Numbers 28:16. And in the 14th day of the first month, 14th day of the first month, is the Pesach of Almighty Yah. Not the 14th day of the first month. You know, many of us, that should even sound ignorant to you. It should sound crazy. You allow your traditions and what you learned from your mama, your daddy, your granddaddy, they did well. Those older ones that had principles, I can appreciate that more than anything. But they were not the most learned men. I got a teacher when I finished this on the Hebrew Israelites concept and the doctrine through the generation. They were wonderful men. And it was almost like a collage of Judaism, pieces here and pieces there. And many of you that are Hebrew Israelites, you don't even know. You hear about Bivens and stuff like that. But there were those before that, man. I want to get back to this. The first month. The 14th day at Eve. Miriam, she is dead. She's gone. Numbers 33:3. I'm proceeding in a sequential order. Look what it says in Numbers when they depart out of Ramesses. It says in Numbers 33:3, and they departed from Ramesses in the first month, on the 14th day of the first month, on the 15th day of the first month, forgive me, on the 15th day of the first month, after Tabernacle. And on the morrow after Pesach, the children of YisraYah'ale went out with a high hand and all of the sight of Mizraim. The Torah speaks truth. It is sequential, but yet it is fragmented. Not even a searcher of gold and diamonds. He has to go beyond just the first diamond he finds. Experience teach him that there, all of the stuff surrounding the diamond of the gold, it doesn't make for a great place to do that. So this is not a book you're reading. It is truth you must digest. It is almost like a puzzle because it doesn't keep you guessing, but you have to make sure all the pieces, truth fits in its place. And so after this, Moshe dies. He's dead. And there is one mother named of Yahushua ben Nun Joshua. He did not stop. He kept in the same pattern and path of Moshe nation. Let's read this in Joshua Yahushua ben Nun, chapter 4. I want to read this. Let's read verse 14. It says, on that day, this is Moshe is dead. Yah magnified Yahushua in the sight of all whole YisraYah'ale. Look what it says now. And they feared him as they feared Moshe all the days of his life. I'll fear no man. I'll tell you what, let the police drop on you when you know you're right. But yet they feared him. They feared the essence of truth, that he will not lie to them, Moshe. Moshe did not make an intercalary or added a month. He would have shown us that. Yah has to be very callous, and he is not. He's an austere master, but his austereness is governed by him. He is all pure love. And I don't believe that Yah would have left that to corrupt men. The Sanhedrin councils, the Hebrew Israelite group, I don't believe that. I believe he would have left that to a true messenger, just like Moshe. He put it in one man's hand. And then he ordained the next man to pick it up. And all those that were the Nevi'im, the messengers, the prophets of Yah, they knew it was right. He raised up men like Hanuk, 7 from Edom, and took all those men out before the floods. Then he raised someone by the name of Noach, and he kept precise time with him, did he not? Let me ask you all this question. Did I present to you a time that cannot be challenged? It's in the book. How can we challenge that? I want to read the last thing here. In the book of Yahushua ben Nun, Joshua 14. When Yah did all that to make known the excellence of Yahushua ben Nun. And then in Joshua 4 and 19, look what it says. And the people came up out of Jordan on the 10th day. Notice now, 10th day of the first month. And they encamped about Gilgal on the borders of Jericho. Yah has been precise in every mention of the first month. There has not been a first and a first sub 2. that you're going to make sure you arrange things according to what you speculate they should be. God's knowledge, it baffles us because he doesn't operate in the spirit we do. He's teaching our minds to be like the mind of Hamashiach. It is a lie. The vernal equinox has nothing to do with Passover or the feast days. It is a conjured up lie. It has been conjured by wicked, evil men for their own gain. He gives us the first, the second, the third, even 12. And it begins again at first, second. That's his opening. He has 12 openings, and in them, there are special events for us. And he identifies each one of them. We'll teach that. 12. There is no 13. And if any man prescribe to that, he's evil. He's a liar. And yet he will debate to sustain that. Let's go to the book. I don't know who the man is. Let's go to the book. I will not reject the brother for that, but I will not participate in the activity with him. That's for sure. I will not reject him. I'm not trying to make you believe what I believe. I believe the book. I believe just what he says. And the history of the first month, it has not been altered, has it? It hasn't. I don't intend to make these teachings long, about an hour plus, but I can see that I went over extremely. But I want you to listen to part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, and then part 5. It will bless you greatly. May the riches of God rest upon you all. May you enjoy this teaching. Let it challenge your heart. And then you make sure that each line is upon line and line upon line. And the precepts of every verse is there. You can write them down and study them. Listen, you can pause. Turn to that verse and see. And see the context. I didn't want to...